Afternoon, pnawn da, croeso. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm David Llewellyn. Hopefully everybody can hear me and that the comms is working fine. So a couple of things from a housekeeping point of view. First of all, the intention is for us to record this session, and the recording of the session will then be published on the on my office's YouTube channel for consumption after the session today. We did get approximately 40 people registering, and I can see that there's about 19 of us online at the moment, which is fantastic. We're hoping at the end of the session, when we get inputs from my office, there'll be an opportunity for people to ask questions. Even though we haven't got any translation as part of this, if anybody wants to ask any questions in Welsh, I'd be happy to undertake that role of translating on behalf of individuals to ask the questions, and we'd encourage people to use the chat as well. So yes, welcome to this webinar. So the webinar is titled Find Your Volunteer Role webinar, and you are going to have an input from both Tom and Emily from my office. So fi'n ddiolchgar iawn I Tom ac I Emily am gefnogi'r sesiwn. I'm grateful for them supporting me with this session today, which takes place during Volunteers Week. So there's an opportunity for us to pause and celebrate and to say thank you as well. I want to say a huge thank you and a debt of gratitude from me as the Commissioner in the Dyfed-Powys area to all of those people who volunteer, not just for my office, but who volunteer across a plethora of roles within our communities. And it's true to say that a lot of the activity that happens within our communities across the Dyfed-Powys area would not happen without volunteers on a daily basis undertaking their roles. So you will hear an insight today in relation to the roles specific to my office as the Police and Crime Commissioner, and ultimately the work that volunteers assist me in holding the force to account, assist me in ensuring that the force provides as best as possible, a sort of legitimate service to our communities, and is one that is open and transparent. And you'll hear of the access that volunteers get alongside the work that I do as the Commissioner to the operational side of Dyfed-Powys Police, as well as the work that we undertake in that scrutiny function, and sometimes just in that wider engagement function as well, certainly from a victim's perspective and from children and young people as well. So that's the plan for today. That message I made, I'll just repeat in relation to that. This session is going to be recorded and published. So if anybody doesn't want, you can hide your camera, for example. You don't have to be part of the session, and just be mindful if you're asking a question that will be on record, as well as the chat that is also being monitored by Rose from my office. And a huge thank you to Rose, who's done all of the sort of admin behind the scenes to make this happen today and make sure that we are in a position where we've had it promoted as well. So diolch I ti, Rose, am dy waith hefyd. So without further ado, I've said the huge sort of debt of gratitude that I've got to the volunteers within our communities, but also specifically to the ones that undertake the work within my office, but also a big debt of gratitude and diolch yn fawr to my team and my office. So without the work of Emily, Tom and Rose that I've mentioned, all of this would not be happening on a day-to-day basis. And it's true to say that there is a relationship that is built between the volunteers that we have, who give up their time to work with my office, and those who coordinate that activity. And I know that Tom and Emily themselves get a lot out of the engagement that they have with people who do volunteer. So we're going to go into some of those various functions and give an insight. We expect that will take probably between 30 and 45 minutes to partake and share that information with you. And then there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end. But don't feel obliged to ask any questions either. If you don't want to ask questions, that's fine also. But you can pop something in the chat, and we can also ensure that our office contact details are shared with everybody. So that if you are interested and intrigued about the work, they can get in touch with us. And of course, they're on that first slide, if I'd have taken notice. So Tom, fi'n mynd I ddod draw at ti gynta. I'm going to pass to Tom, and Tom is going to take you through some of the particular functions that he is involved with, and then pass over to Emily for some of her functions as well. Diolch yn fawr, thank you.
Diolch, Commissioners. Pnawn da, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Walters. I'm the scheme manager for the Police Crime Commissioner's volunteer schemes, which I'll cover all of them today for you. Just before I begin, I'm very appreciative to have this opportunity to talk with you all today and to advertise what the schemes do. So Emily, if you're happy, can you go to the ICV scheme slide for me, please? You could skip my picture as well, that's fine. So independent custody visitors, you'll have heard me use the abbreviation ICVs because it is a mouthful. What the scheme does is introduces volunteers who conduct unannounced visits to police custody suites with a specific view to check on the welfare and the rights of detainees. Alongside that, they'll do a lot of ensuring work as well to not only assess that they've been treated fairly, but it's in accordance with the legislation of Pays Code C specifically. That's the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. But on top of that as well, they'll look at the conditions of the custody suite when they arrive to ensure that everything is maintained to a level which not only gives the dignity, but also on a human rights perspective, that they're kept in accordance with what's prescribed for their human rights. So whilst I think it's really important because it's referenced as volunteers, and whilst it is a volunteering role, the ICV scheme in itself is a statutory legislation for the OPCC to undertake under the Police Reform Act 2002. So there's an enormous responsibility for any volunteer that undertakes this to not only be entrusted to have force information, but they're also our eyes and ears as the OPCC to highlight any concerns or issues or even excellent practice that occur on a day-to-day basis. I mean, they're given a lot of scrutiny before you attend, so the process would require you to be interviewed. You'd have specific vetting clearance as well, which altogether amounts to the fact you get enormous responsibility, including unescorted access to non-sensitive police premises, as well as unsupervised access to police systems. So the purpose of all that, the reason that you get all that, is because the ICV scheme itself is advertised to promote transparency, accountability, and in order to provide that public confidence that in policing that they are providing that independent oversight in how people are treated whilst they're in police custody. So the activities that you would undertake as part of an ICV would mostly, as in the name suggests, you'd be visiting custody suites. But alongside that, we've done a lot of training as well. And some of the things that we've listed is what we've included them to be part of our interview process. So they've had interview training. In order for them to understand use of force in custody, they've actually gone and witnessed a specific training activity that officers have to undertake on an annual basis. And alongside that, every quarter, so every 3 months, we will have a panel meeting. And to accommodate everyone, we can do that in person at the police headquarters or online on Teams, if that's your preference. Some of the positive things that we've done as part of the ICV scheme, I won't list them all, but there's been such a plethora over the years that I've been doing this. And one of those is stopping nuisance calls from members of the public. Now there's stenciled signs within custody suites that advertises that all toilet areas are pixelated. There's been a massive improvement and knowledge with regards to how religious items should be stored in a respectful, dignified manner. An improvement in terms of knowledge and management of female sanitary products too. But I think also the huge aspects that ICVs have contributed towards is now we see an embedded healthcare professional, that's a nurse within the custody suite, which wasn't routinely done across all 5 custody suites across Dyfed-Powys. And they've played a significant factor in evidencing why that was required. And another facet of the ICV scheme that they've really influenced is expediting repairs within custody suites. So there's a better alignment with our estate management team and conducting those repairs because of the way they've been reporting those through their visitations. The main requirements for anyone interested in signing up to be an ICV, and this will be applicable to all the schemes that I advertise today, is that they must be over 18 years old. You must live, study, work within the Dyfed-Powys region as well. And volunteers, as I referenced before, must undergo that vetting process. So it will require commitments to regular visits, regular training, and any induction that we facilitate in order for you to understand the legislative remit of the ICV scheme. And if I go to the next slide for me, please, Emily, I think there's a quote from an ICV themselves in terms of their personal experience of being with the OPCC's ICV scheme. You'll see pictures, they are actual live pictures of our ICV scheme too, and visits that both myself and the Commissioner have undertaken to routinely also have our own assurances and build relationships with custody suites, which I think is a real strength of the scheme. And thank you, Emily. Can you move to the next slide, please? And this is a short video for you, just that should encompass everything I've just explained, if it works. I don't think there's sound coming from it, which might mean that you might share the microphones, but it's not an issue if not.
Oh, it's a shame that's not working. I wonder whether... Yeah, it's nothing to do with, because Emily, you're sharing your screen. It's nothing to do with if your mic is off,
Yeah.
no?
No, my mic is on. I'll
Have to share the
mute
microphone,
myself.
yeah.
Sorry, let's do it again.
No, it's the same thing.
Ah.
No,
okay.
it's the same. No, oh, there we are. Well, that's uploaded onto our YouTube channel, or can be uploaded onto our YouTube channel as well. So if we direct people to consume that at their leisure, Tom, and just to conclude the independent custody visitors, one aspect of the most enjoyable part of the work that I've undertaken over the last 10 years as a commissioner is to do those joint visits, because very often there are some insightful observations and comments that we can feed back through our various governance structures in force then. And one of the things that's quite exciting in the last year or so, we've introduced that service that's been provided for children and young people that enter the custody facility, which is that Reachable Moments project. And a lot of that came from an influence of the independent custody visitors. So it has real tangible impact on the service that's been delivered by the force, is what I just wanted to add. So unfortunate about the technology, but are we going to move on to the next scheme next?
So this is the next scheme that I'm also responsible for. So this is the Animal Welfare Scheme, or the AWS, as I'll abbreviate it. So these are volunteers who inspect police dogs and their handlers, mostly checking how the police dogs have been kept, either in the kennels or how they've been trained, how they've been transported by their assigned dog handler. So each dog has a specific dog handler they're assigned to. The primary aim of that process is that the police dogs are treated properly in adherence to the 5 welfare needs that comes under the Animal Welfare Act. So just to recap in terms of what I said about the ICV scheme, in a similar vein, this does come under legislation. And again, its primary purpose is to provide that overall assurances that the dogs are treated humanely. And sometimes, those conditions will change seasonally. So we've seen hot weather recently. So these sort of factors, when they do these visits undertaken with the vehicle checks, they need to make sure there's appropriate ventilation, they've got plenty of water, that they've got their PPE kit, that they're not stuck in the cage all day. In terms of the actual specifics of the 5 legislation, they need to make sure that their provisions of suitable environment, that the dogs have access to a suitable diet, that they exhibit normal behavior patterns when they're with their dog handler, so they assess the relationship. They'll assess that there's appropriate housing arrangements too, and also protection from any pain, injury and disease. The activities that our volunteers undertake routinely is mostly vehicle checks. So similarly to the ICVs, The main difference will be is that it is not unannounced. It will be prescribed in terms of the arrangement, because they'll need to find a suitable location for them to meet. But they will meet the dog handler as they are operationally ready, which can mean when they arrive, if they're called out, then they have to abandon that visit. But that's all recorded. Another facet of their activities will be that they undertake kennel checks. So very similar to the custody checks, we have a checklist to assess the environment and also to check the conditions of the dogs, to make sure that they've been humanely treated throughout their process that they're there. We're in the process of observing training, particularly of any new dogs that are coming in. And I think one of the main factors of feedback I get back is that you, as a volunteer, will be assigned those dog handlers associated to proximity to where you live. So you really get to know the dog handlers, you get to know the dogs, and you build up strong relationships. And I think the strength from the scheme is that we're seeing from our volunteers is, even though they're building strong relationships, they're still able to contribute in terms of making those necessary observations to improve the standards of the dogs. So one of those will be some of the repairs that they've noticed in the kennels. They've referenced just the way the condition that dogs are, and if anyone owns a dog, they'll know roughly that, you know, they can sometimes chew the walls, or they can jump around or shake their body so that there's moisture on the walls, so that can affect the peeling of the paint. This is expedited much faster with independent oversight and observations, and that also includes the transport of vehicles, and if the vehicles are unsuitable, so they've made a huge contribution in order to actually rectify some of those. And in terms of requirements, similar to the ICVs, it will require you to be 18 or over and live and study and work in the policing area. You need to be independent from the police or any criminal justice organisations. And then you must also undergo any vetting procedures as well, because you will get a similar clearance to ICVs. Then I think that's it from my end. This is the police dog section sergeant that I collaborate with. So you're welcome to read that quotation in terms of his assessment of the scheme and its value for the force.
Tom, I wonder whether it's worth just noting how important Kerry's role as the sergeant is as well, and that he is an integral sort of link that we have within the force as well, and just maybe take this opportunity to thank Kerry as well for his openness and willingness to work with us as an office.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's not the schemes can't simply function on one way. It has to be mutually beneficial, and one of the things that I can say safely as the scheme manager in all the schemes, we have an excellent relationship with the force. They're very open to any sort of observations that volunteers make, and equally, you know, we're very understanding of any barriers that they face in terms of some of those suggestions too. So there's an excellent collaboration in there, and Kerry has been at the forefront of supporting the scheme with any induction training or facilitating any of the sort of changes with regards to the Dogs Trust. So we're very appreciative. We are.
Thank you, Tom. I'll take over for the next few minutes. So I'm Emily. My role in the OPCC is the engagement advisor. So one of my core roles is to lead and coordinate our youth ambassador scheme, something that I'm hugely passionate about. I really enjoy working with our youth ambassadors and giving young people an opportunity to share their voice, opinions and feedback with us as an office to implement positive change within policing and crime. So the Youth Ambassador Scheme was established in 2018, and essentially it provides a platform for young people to influence the future of policing and crime prevention in their local areas in Dyfed-Powys. They are representative of their local communities and any community groups that they're involved in, whether that be in their schools, colleges, youth assemblies, young farmers, any sort of youth groups. They give external support and advice to the Police and Crime Commissioner and staff within the OPCC, and they also make sure that the Commissioner is held accountable and is working in the most effective way. So their core role as well is to share the voice of their community to us in the OPCC. They have been, over the last few years, involved in several types of engagement activities through, for example, events, conferences. They've been part and held exciting campaigns such as World Children's Day, taking part in mental health awareness days, and most recently they did provide a young person's perspective on the new Victims Code with the Ministry of Justice, which was really invaluable to us as an office to pass that on. They also contribute and volunteer with us in our summer events that we take part in and attend, such as the Royal Welsh Show, the Eirdd Eisteddfod and National Eisteddfod when they are within Dyfed-Powys. Their role then is to support us as staff on the stand and engage with members of the public and young people. So at the moment, we are currently with our youth ambassadors undergoing a big project for this next year. We're in the middle of the planning stages right now, hoping to put out a consultation in the next few weeks. Hopefully that will go live in July, with the aim of finding out what do young people care most about when it comes to policing and crime? What's their biggest issue? So that could be anything from hate crime, domestic abuse, vogue, online harm, and we'll utilise our summer events to find out and to engage with as many young people as possible. Once we have the findings, we will then continue with the consultation period and try and engage further with young people through the use of focus groups, more surveys, events, going out to different community groups. And then the hope is to hold a conference where we will be able to pose recommendations and considerations to our partners to hopefully implement these positive changes in Dyfed-Powys. So with people often question, why do we have the Youth Ambassador Scheme? And the reason is because young people aged between 16 and 25 experience crime more than any other age group. So by harnessing their experience, police forces can become fairer, more accountable organisations in their own communities. And the end goal is to help the Commissioner and Dyfed-Powys Police improve their decision-making and increase accountability in a way that benefits everyone in the community. Being an ambassador, we want them to challenge us, to question us, and to support us, and to also contribute to the work of the PCC, whether that is attending important meetings, contributing to the annual report and police and crime plan, or just to give advice to the Commissioner and his team. And in return, then what we do is we support our youth ambassadors by giving them the tools that they need, build their confidence when it comes to facilitating or leading on focus groups or any engagement events that they take part in. Our requirement then for the youth ambassadors is that they must be aged between 16 and 25 years old, live, work and study in Dyfed-Powys. Under 18s will need to complete and send over a consent from a legal guardian, and that they are willing to engage with others and contribute to the work of the PCC. And just moving on, our next volunteer group that I also lead and coordinate is our Victim Survivor Engagement Network, which is a platform that ensures that victims are properly supported. So we know that being a victim of crime can be a traumatic experience, and we want to make sure that victims feel properly supported and get the right information at the right time. And we want to involve those that have been affected by crime and antisocial behaviour through meaningful and impactful engagement activities. So we will get request from our partners within the local criminal justice board that want to engage with victim survivors on particular topics. So that could range from domestic abuse victim survivors or hate crime, antisocial behaviour, and we will reach out to our network of members on our victim survivor engagement network to see if they're willing to partake in this activity. These activities can range from focus groups, online focus groups, or in-person surveys, consultations, or one-on-one meetings or interviews then. So our network will welcome everyone who has been a victim survivor of any type of crime and or antisocial behaviour. And we allow victims to share their lived experience of crime and policing. They provide advice and recommendations to us for improvement on the ways that victims are supported. And we essentially want to help victims at all stages of the criminal justice system and the journey that they're at and in. And our overall aim is to just ensure that victims are heard and that their recommendations are valued. And that, I think, is it from me. It's, as I mentioned, open to all of those that are affected by any sort of crime and antisocial behaviour in the Dyfed-Powys policing area. And I think I'll move back to Tom now then. Thank you, Tom.
Emily, before you hand the baton over again,
Yeah.
just to pause on those two important functions that you coordinate then, for both the Victim Survivor Engagement Network and also for the Youth Ambassador Scheme. It's about giving those individuals agency within the service, within the police service. So the voice of the young people, for example. That's probably the forum that we have most fun with, if we're really honest with people in this webinar today. They bring some vim and vigour to the activities, and I don't think I've enjoyed myself quite so much as to when I see them holding the Chief Constable to account, and when we brought them into a meeting with the Chief Constable and they directly have questions, which is fantastic. So it's about giving them the confidence to do that, giving them the opportunity to do it, and then their agency, as I was describing, into influencing my work and the work of the force collectively, and then the important perspective the victim survivors have, which is a unique one in the sense that they have experienced the service firsthand, i.e. from a policing point of view, but potentially the wider criminal justice system as well. And I have the privilege of chairing the local criminal justice board in Dyfed-Powys, where all of the partners come together from CPS through to the courts and tribunal service and Her Majesty's Prison and Probation Service. And again, the Victim Survivor Engagement Network allows us to potentially ask questions and get information, which is then enriched with that information in order to inform us of the work that we're undertaking that at that strategic level, hopefully to improve the services that are delivered day in, day out by the various agencies across the criminal justice system. So, Emily, diolch i ti am hwnna. Thank you for those insights. But I just thought it was worthwhile. I could start naming some of the youth ambassadors, people like Bradley. You know, Bradley was awarded last year, wasn't he? A specific national award for his activities. And yeah, he's been previously a cadet. We're not talking about the cadets today. The cadets is a scheme that the force runs, and the cadets are run more operationally aligned in local community settings. But Bradley joined the cadets many years ago and is still part of our Youth Ambassador Forum, and it's been quite a stalwart. So yeah, big shout out to Bradley and thanking him for his contribution over the years. A diolch i ti, Emily, hefyd. Thank you.
Diolch.
So the next slide will be the Quality Assurance Panel, or as I'll call it, QAP for an abbreviation. So essentially what the QAP is the panel is there to scrutinise police contact with the public. So the type of scrutiny that the panel will habitually undertake will be assessing police powers, which include use of force, stop and search. They'll listen to telephone calls as well in relation to 999, 111, 101 telephone calls. And the purpose of that, again, is to assess whether the policing operations and their accountability in terms of any improvements that's been previously identified by the panel or assisting in promoting public confidence in policing practices is representative of the community. So routinely, the panel will be conducting those so that they can monitor, check and balance what activity, what learning has been identified. Those comments that the panel make are all recorded via report, which are accessible on our webpage. And those comments from the force are also published within those reports. So there are observations and comments from the force. And those are fed back, particularly regarding police powers, in a force accountability board, which involves all the local district inspectors of all 4 regions of Dyfed-Powys. One particular area which the QAP has influenced recently, as of last year, was to ensure there was a better safeguarding process for any child that was stopped and searched or any use of force was applied to. So they made sure then that that communication was also given to the parents. Positive engagement as well has been routinely assessed with regards to how frontline officers speak to victims of crime. So even though the QAP habitually look at use of force, stop and search, telephone calls, they have also undertaken very sensitive scrutiny on things like Operation Soteria, which is a specific focus from the force with regards to how they're supporting rape and sexually assaulted victims. They've also looked at domestic abuse attrition, so they're looking at why victims are dropping out of investigation processes, the way the officers are communicating and what their communication style is. So fundamentally, they do a huge amount of work for us in terms of our eyes, in terms of how the force are generally performing in the community. But unlike the other previous 2 schemes that I was talking about, it's not under any legislation. So this is purely an activity that we undertake as part of the OPCC in Dyfed-Powys. The main requirement in regards to anyone looking to sign up to this was that they would need to attend the Dyfed-Powys Police headquarters in order to access the unredacted documents and body-worn videos, which is routinely the type of activity that will be undertaken. So they will assess what were the footage that they've seen, and they'll corroborate that with what's been written, and then we'll make observations that we will follow up on, and again we'll monitor in 6 months to a year time. The other aspect you'll see at the bottom left of the screen is the usual parameters. And this must be over 18, live and study within Dyfed-Powys, and it must be independent from the police or any criminal justice organisations. The next quotation you'll see are from the Specialist Operations Chief Inspector at the time, Sean Bowen, just giving his overall evaluation of how impactful QAP have been. And the following slide after that will be the sergeant that's responsible for that Operation Soteria that I referenced before, which had sensitive impacts to those that were rape and sexual victims of the crimes that they were being assessed for. I think there's another slide there, Emily, as well, that has that quotation in. Yeah, that's it.
And
So
Tom, as that slide is brought forward with the input there from Ben Staniforth, the sergeant as part of Soteria, I would describe the quality assurance panel as being more like an audit function, in the sense that it's quite driven around processes, procedures, and sort of some paperwork or documentation. You talked about the body-worn video, the records, so very sensitive information that is shared with the quality assurance panel, and then they're at their leisure able to digest and ask probing questions in relation to that work. And again, that information then is produced into a report that comes to myself as the Commissioner, and we share with the Chief Constable as well. And there is discussion then at our governance process, which is the policing board meeting, where we take cognizance of the information, and possibly, if there are specific points, then we would make recommendations for things to change within the way in which the force operates. So it's I would describe, I don't know whether that's a poor description or not, but I would describe it as more akin to like an audit function, which is really powerful, and they can get then into the detail of some of the individual incidents, and those incidents very often are pulled at random, aren't they, Tom? They're not just cases that they're so happy to share with us. These are just random cases that we have access to.
Yeah, they're dip sample cases, and you're absolutely right. I have always described the QAP as professional members of the public because they have been given a lot of training, a lot of input before they actually conduct that activity. So they've got a bit more insight in terms of what the force are looking to achieve. But also they sit on the side of the OPCC because they understand they are independent, and they're providing their observations objectively. So it does give them a little bit more of an audit feel to it. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Commissioner. Yeah. Are you happy to move on to the next slide, please, Emily? So not to confuse with the QAP. So this is the Independent Advisory Group, or IAG for short, that's what I'll call it. You'll get familiar with all these abbreviations by the end, but the IAG are sole responsibility of the force, not the Commissioner. But what they do is that they are also volunteers that provide independent advice and feedback on policing issues, policies, services. They use lived experience and community knowledge to help shape how policing services are delivered. And the group is usually used by the force to provide understanding if they've provided any disadvantages to any members of the community that they represent due to misunderstanding or lack of awareness. So the main purpose is to really be a direct voice in the decision-making process. And that supports the police and has supported the OPCC in the past in relation to us doing a terms of reference for our custody independent scrutiny panel, which is a separate panel that we've done ourselves. But what we wanted to do is ensure then that the delivery of that terms of reference is fair, inclusive, and also effective in its service. And what the IAG will do is to ensure policing reflects and understands those needs, diversities, the reasonable adjustments that are required to provide that constructual. They'll challenge any insights or any policies that they come across and provide sort of critical, they're described as a critical friend to the force. My understanding of the requirements of it must be that they are independent of the police, so they're not associated even being a former police staff or officer, and also must have connections directly within the Dyfed-Powys region, as I've specified before, and they must undergo vetting and have references before they can actually join. So if you are interested, the application for that will need to go through via the force.
Tom, on this one, I think as listed there, the cross-representation of the diverse elements of our community's protected characteristics, for example, are things that we would be looking for in the recruitment into that group. Is that's again hopefully an accurate description by the Commissioner?
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely right. And whilst also we encourage a wider demographic to join our volunteering schemes too, this particular panel is assessing whether the provisions in place for those who do have specific reasonable adjustment needs do have the access in order to actually make the application, for example. Not sure what the next slide is, Emily. It's on my head. This is yours. I'll hand you back the baton.
Thanks, Tom. So as Tom just mentioned now, we've recently piloted our community scrutiny panel, where we have panel members who are members of the public that will independently review police contact with the public, in a transparent and impartial way. So the volunteers will scrutinise the quality of police interactions, the ethical use of police powers, and the service being delivered to communities. Similar to the QAP, however, this will be with members of the public, and the aim is to hold these every quarter. So every 3 to 4 months in different areas of Dyfed-Powys throughout the year. We did our first one in February in Aberystwyth, where we had a group of members of the public that came together and reviewed police footage of stop and search and use of force. The panel acts then as an independent public voice, providing views and recommendations to Dyfed-Powys Police to help strengthen transparency, accountability, and the public confidence in policing. We are currently now putting out promotion for our second panel, which will be held in Brecon on the 1st of July. So I believe that it has gone out via social media and email. So if anybody is interested, I think you can get that information on our socials or on our website as well. The requirements to take part in this scrutiny panel is to be over the age of 18, to live, study or work in Dyfed-Powys. You don't need previous experience, and just to be independent from the police or criminal justice system. Members will undergo vetting and references and adhere to confidentiality at all times. In the session, you will have a member of the Dyfed-Powys Police who will facilitate the session, provide some training at the beginning, and then we'll go into the different police footage then for members of the public to view and provide feedback on.
And Emily, this one is quite new, isn't it, really? So this is in effect taking scrutiny out to the community as well. So a lot of the activity we've talked about as part of our volunteering offer has been, you know, where individuals either come to the police premises, to the custody environment, to police headquarters. In this instance, we are taking this on a tour across the force on a quarterly basis, and the session in Aberystwyth, which I attended, was, I think, valuable for two things. One, for the community to have an opportunity to, you know, the force to share with them in a transparent way what, you know, was being done in terms of use of force and stop and search, and to ask questions, but also in a way of explaining back to the public why it was possibly necessary to use that force, or it was what had led up to that stop and search. And I think that two-way communication out in the community is really vital, because those individuals, and there must have been, I don't know, a dozen or so, 10 or 12 of them that attended Aberystwyth, they now can be individuals that can advocate the experience they've had in that session to some of their peers and other community members, from a point of view of saying, well, I had an opportunity to understand this had happened and why the use of force was made, etc. So I think that one in particular is one I'm quite excited about, how it will develop now over the next year or two, in us taking it out to the community groups, and hopefully we'll get a good gang that turns up in Brecon to help us with some of that activity, and it'll act then to once again provide that further insight and transparency into the work of the force, but also communicate back to the public what the police are dealing with on a local basis, because the incidents that were being shared are incidents across the force area, not necessarily just when we were in Aberystwyth, just the Aberystwyth area. They are incidents that are coming from a bit further afield, so that they can perhaps appreciate the pressures that the officers and staff are under as well, undertaking their roles. So yeah, it's an exciting development within our volunteering space. Oh, is that the end?
It is, yeah.
That came about a bit quicker than I was expecting. I was expecting the baton to go back to Tom for one final input, Tom. But diolch yn fawr, Emily. Tom, thank you to the two of you for providing your inputs. Is there anything further the two of you would want to say at this point? No?
I think what I can add, Commissioner, is with the recruitment for the Youth Ambassador Scheme and also a Victim Survivor Engagement Network, it is open-ended, so there's no recruitment period. You can apply as and when you feel like it for either scheme.
I think the only thing I'd like to add is anyone that's looking to join, and I know this from speaking to other volunteers who've apologised because they have felt that they need to block out their diary in terms of availability to make sure they can commit to doing, you know, everything that we sort of have listed there today. It's just to give some reassurance that we understand as an office that you have personal lives, that you are volunteering. There's a lot of flexibility, and there's no literal obligation for you to attend every single meeting. Of course, we'll encourage you to attend as many as you can so that you're informed, you build your knowledge, your expertise, your experience in whatever activity you look to do. But there's an understanding, particularly, you know, if you've got employment, you've got studies, you've got other volunteering commitments, you know, just chat it through with us, because we can accommodate it. And, you know, even if you're going on a long-term holiday, you know, in the summer, and you're waiting to do maybe the application after that, you know, we would say you can have a break in between that period. And also just to emphasize that the vetting process does take, you know, a period of time. I think on average, Emily, if I'm not mistaken, is roughly about 3 to 4 months at the moment, which is an improvement from previous times. But there's still a gap in between that interview and you getting that training. So if you're considering it and you have any questions, or you want to inquire and you're worried about your personal circumstances, just get in touch with us, because we can work around it.
Diolch, Tom. Thank you to the two of you. Yeah, so that's an important message, isn't it? The flexibility that we provide as an office, the support that you as individuals provide to them as volunteers as well, I think is important to highlight. I think this is the longest email ever to be in existence on the screen at the moment, the one which is the OPCC quality of service at Dyfed. If you can't remember all of that, you can email the office by just using OPCC at dyfed-powys.police.uk and say it's in relation to volunteering, and it'll get to the right person. But what I want to do now, we've got certainly a few minutes left of our time. Does anybody who is online with us today want to ask any specific questions, either of me as the Commissioner or the scheme coordinators and managers, Emily and Tom? You can use your virtual hand if you wanted to interact. But as I said at the outset, don't feel obliged. Yes. So have we got, is it Lee or Joseph? Lee. Joseph, is it? I got it the wrong way around. Are you able to unmute?
Is that any better?
Oh, there we are. We can hear you.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you, Diolch. Really good to see the work of the office and some of the things I hadn't appreciated. Just checking with the independents. If I've got a wife who works in the police service in another force area, is that going to rule out on the criteria for independence?
I don't think it is, but Tom will tell me differently maybe. I don't think it rules you out at all. Tom?
No, the provision with regards to the eligibility, if would just be regarding associations. So if they work within Dyfed-Powys and they wanted to look at custodies, they will obviously encompass a lot of people that they will come to associate with. So as far as I'm aware, if you are an officer outside, actually, I'll take it back. If I'm thinking about the ICVs, for that impartiality, you wouldn't be able to be a police officer and have any associations with it because of that integrity issue. And that's why, unless your partner or associate there has left the police, or any, you know, even if we've got ex-probation officers, ex-support workers that are now volunteering, but they can't be serving at the same time.
Okay, thanks, Tom. There's a couple I'm interested in, so perhaps if I just follow up with an email and just explore them.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, any queries, happy to answer anything you got. Send me an email.
Yeah.
Perfect. Then we got a question from Sam in relation to any of the roles. This is in the chat. Involve are they all in person, or can there be some that are involved remotely? Now, I know that we've talked quite extensively in recent months in relation to virtual volunteers, and I know this is something that the region and the force have some capacity in. So if you were interested in that, Sam, perhaps what we could do is take your details and seek to try and push you in that direction if there's an issue in relation to that requiring the attendance in person. Some of them, just by the very nature of things like the dog visits, animal welfare and the custody, do require an in-person attendance, as was described. And the same is true for the quality assurance panel. A lot of the youth ambassador activity is a lot of that is done online these days, albeit we do like to bring people into headquarters to get that sense of coming together. But perhaps what we can do, we'll have your details as part of this webinar, is that we can reach out to you with some information in relation to the virtual volunteers, which is coordinated not necessarily by my office at the moment. We haven't explored much further that aspect. Diolch yn fawr. I can see a couple of other queries coming up here now. Contact details on the first slide have just been provided. Thank you. And then what training and support do volunteers receive before starting? It's slightly different in each of the roles, but generally speaking, there is a training program, isn't there, Tom?
Yeah, there's once you've gone through the vetting clearance, there's quite a lot of mandatory online training you'll have to complete before conducting your induction training. But if you're an ICV, for example, we'll attend the custody suite of your sort of location, really, that you'll be based at, and you'll have inputs from data protection officers, you'll have inputs from the force itself, an inspector who's formerly a custody sergeant. Similarly with the animal welfare scheme, we'll go down to the kennels, you'll be able to meet the dog sergeant himself, you'll meet the dogs trusts who help us with our assurance activities, and then throughout that time, then you're not expected to be an expert. And I think that's the main thing I always emphasize to anyone that's new taking on the scheme. There's an extensive amount of work that's done. You'll have shadowing opportunities, so we say a minimum of 2, which means you go out with an experienced volunteer. If you feel confident, then you conduct the process as you would, as alongside the other volunteers. If you don't, that could be prolonged, it's not an issue. And then on top of that, there's routine training offered based on what volunteers want. So if I refer back to ICVs, some of them were a little bit confused with regards to appropriate adults. So we got the appropriate adult provider to provide an input for them so they have a bit more of an understanding, extensive understanding. So it helps them facilitate for future visitations. So there's an extensive program, but to try and summarize it, you're never going to be left unequipped to know what's going on, and you're never expected to be an expert. It does take time, but you will build up over the amount of visits that you make.
Thank you, Tom. Diolch. Tony Joe was asking about what the best way is to express an interest. Are we going to be saying email is the best way? That's probably the best, isn't it?
Email or the web page. I'll put down the web page for the schemes, Sunday Self Commissioner, and then you can click on the link accordingly. There's an application form which you can. It's a simple. If anyone's familiar with the Microsoft Forms, it's a yes/no tick box and a couple of questions, and then we'll follow up from there. So I'll provide that in the chat now, just to make sure if anyone is interested, they can have a look at it. If they're finding it difficult to navigate, then send an email and we can sort that out, and that's also in the chat. Perfect,
thank you. So click on the website, go into the relevant section and fill in a relatively simple form and/or send an email. And then Amanda, I think this is quite an insightful comment, really, and question. Do we consider, because the length it takes and the length of time it's taking, because it's taking between 3 and 6 months for the vetting process to be completed, would we consider applications from people 17 or 17 and a half? That's something maybe at the moment I would argue that probably we don't. Do we, Tom? Or
we're not able to for those schemes that sit under myself. A lot of those are prescriptive from the Home Office anyway, so we don't have the remit to change those. But certainly from Emily's point of view, it's slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with our youth ambassadors, minimum age is 16. They don't require vetting. It's just a simple application form. If you're under the age of 18, you will have to send in a consent form. And then similar then with the Victim Survivor Engagement Network, there is no vetting process. You can be under the age of 18, but again, we do ask for a consent form to be sent in. There's no application process. It's just a short survey with a little bit of information about yourself. And if you're willing to disclose what you are a victim survivor of, so that we have that on our database so that we can effectively reach out to engagement requests that are suitable or relevant to what they've experienced. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, well, I think it does from your point of view, Emily. I think it's more straightforward. I think from the comment that Tom made, unfortunately, Amanda, it does seem that we can't accept until people are 18, and there is that slight time lag then. One of those nuance sort of positions that we're in, really. Um, Anything else from anybody? Does anybody want to come in with any other questions? Thank you for interacting, both in the questions in the chat and also in person as well. And thank you for attending. We've been, I think we were up to about 24, 25 individuals earlier, which was fantastic. If we get, maybe half of those individuals interested in signing up for our volunteer schemes, we would be very happy, and it would be a fantastic outcome for this webinar. This webinar was also an opportunity for me to thank all of the volunteers that are active across the Dyfed-Powys Police Force area, not just with my work in the OPCC, but also, as I mentioned, more widely within our communities, and also supporting the force. I talked about the cadets earlier, but there are other functions that individuals undertake, volunteering, supporting the force also. So it's been an opportunity to do that, do it during Volunteers Week, where there's a focus on volunteers. Felly, with no further ado, that's the conclusion of this webinar. Thank you very much for attending. Diolch unwaith eto I Tom and Emily. Thank you for the two of you, and also Rose in the background, who's coordinated all of this and ensured that it's all worked very well, in my opinion. So diolch yn fawr iawn. Have a good rest of the week. Thank you very much for attending. Diolch.